hello everyone. And yesterday we had completed with internal structure of the heart. Hopefully आप लोग ने वो पढ़ा होगा, ठीक है? So 12th exam के लिए external and internal structure of the heart is very important from circulation, and lot of parts are there which you have to remember. So please make sure that you don't skip that for your 12th exam. Now the next part after internal structure is conducting system of the heart. Okay, very simple part. You just have to remember the diagram. So for the conducting system, I am going to draw the same diagram which I have been drawing in the last two lectures. Heart का simple diagram draw करना है, alright? So your right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle, correct? This is the wall which is present between the two atria, which is called interatrial septum, correct? This is atrioventricular septum, and interventricular septum. So everybody knows this. Now, first of all, what is conducting system of the heart? So the heart beats 72 beats per minute. That is also called as the heart rate. And heart is continuously on. It is never stopping. Okay? It is not like the stomach or the intestine or the liver or any other organ that it can get enough rest. So heart is continuously contracting and relaxing. Now who is controlling this beating of the heart? Who is controlling the contraction of the heart? So normally all the organs in the body, they get message from the nervous system. Okay, the brain basically gives message. For example, during digestion there is peristalsis. So the message for peristalsis comes from the nervous system. Similarly, while you are walking or running, your striated muscles contract and relax because they are getting message from the nervous system. However, heart does not get message from the nervous system to start contraction. The heart itself gives message to contract. So normally all the organs which get message from the nervous system for contraction and relaxation, these organs or these muscles are called as neurogenic muscles. Okay, neurogenic, neuro means nervous system, यहाँ से मैसेज आ रहा है, but heart खुद को ही मैसेज दे रहा है चलाने के लिए. So heart is called as myogenic. Are you getting this difference? Myo is myocardium, which is the middle muscle of the heart. So myogenic means heart itself starts its own contraction. Similarly, the contraction rate, the heart rate may increase, decrease. Again, that is regulated by the heart. Obviously, there are hormones which also help. There are chemicals which help. But the heart itself regulates its own functioning. You have to remember this. The nervous system is not sending the message to the heart for contraction and relaxation. So the heart is called as myogenic. Is this word clear? Okay. Now, what is the conducting system of the heart? Now this heart has a specialized type of tissue which is called as the nodal tissue. I will write it down over here. N-O-D-A-L-T-I-S-S-U-E. Nodal. Now this nodal tissue is made up of specific parts which are present throughout the heart. Okay. And what is the function of this nodal tissue? This nodal tissue is basically transferring electrical impulses. So suppose अगर ये पूरा टिश्यू का एरिया है तो यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिकल इम्पल्स पास हो रहा है, and because of that electrical impulse, the contraction and relaxation of all the chambers is taking place. Now, these nodal tissues are of many types. For example, there is something which is called as the SA node. There is something called as the AV node. Then there is bundle of His, H is capital. Okay, and then there is something which is called as Purkinje fibers. So lot of new words are there. Okay, don't get confused. Just remember that this is a specialized tissue in the heart which carries electricity, and because of that carrying of electricity, the contraction and relaxation of the heart takes place. That is why if you must have seen in movies or any video, when the heart stops beating, you must have seen doctors giving those electrical shocks. Why? Because those electrical impulses can start the heart. Are you getting the point? Now we have to study about how these components are working and helping in contraction. So ये nodal tissue का part clear है. Okay. Now first and the most important part of this nodal tissue is called as the SA node. SA stands for sinoatrial node. Now where is this present? So this is approximately the area where the superior vena cava opens. Remember, the superior vena cava opens into the right atrium. Just below this opening of the superior vena cava is present the sinoatrial node. So what I will do is I will use the red color for the nodal tissue. तो यहाँ पे आपका आ गया SA node. Alright, this area is called as the SA node, sinoatrial node. Now this is the most important part and it is also called as the pacemaker of the heart. You must have heard of the word pacemaker. What is the meaning of pacemaker? Pacemaker मतलब वो पेस बना रहा है, हार्ट को कॉन्ट्रैक्शन और रिलैक्सेशन का जो साइकिल है वो स्टार्ट कर रहा है. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड पेसमेकर. मेक करना मतलब कुछ बनाना. So this is the first part where the electrical impulse is generated. इसको कहीं से भी electrical impulse आ नहीं रहा है, वो खुद से generate कर रहा है, and that is why it is called as the pacemaker. This is the natural pacemaker. If this stops working in your body, then people get artificial pacemaker inserted inside their heart. Is this clear? Not inside their heart, inside the chest. It is connected to the heart. Okay, we will study that later on. So is this clear? Where is it placed? Below the superior vena cava opening. Now, this SA node then sends electrical impulses to the next part of the nodal tissue, which is called as the AV node. Now, AV stands for atrioventricular. Atrioventricular. मतलब between atrium and ventricle. So the AV node is present somewhere over here. It is also present in the right atrium, but it is present near this interatrial septum. मतलब यहाँ पे. So it is also present near the atrioventricular septum and it is also present near the interatrial septum. That is why this is also called as the AV node. Is this clear? Obviously there is a connection between SA node and AV node. There will be fibers which will be running, okay, for the conduction of electrical impulse. So pace make कौन कर रहा है? SA node. एक बार वो impulse generate हो गया, then you just have to send the impulse. That is it. You just have to send the impulse. The AV node when it gets the impulse, it sets the pace. Sets मतलब अभी वो decide करेगा pace क्या रहेगा, fast रहेगा, slow रहेगा, medium रहेगा. So AV node is called as the pace setter. Please remember the difference between two. One is pacemaker, other is pace setter. Now this AV node will again send the impulse to another part. There is a part which is present over here which is called as bundle of His. BUNDLE. H is capital. Okay. Now this was basically discovered by a Japanese scientist. So उसका जो नाम है उसके ऊपर भी नाम है बंडल का. So it is also called as bundle of Tawara. The name of the person who discovered this was called as Tawara. He discovered this AV node. He discovered this bundle. So on his name also it is named. Now what happens is this bundle of his, if you see, it is present on the interventricular septum. You have to know the location. Okay. You have to know where each of these nodal tissue is present. This is a nodal tissue, this is a nodal tissue, even this is nodal. So now again I have to show the connection between the AV and the bundle of His. Now why is this called as a bundle? Because many nodal tissues are present over here. There is a bundle. So some of them will go in the right ventricle. Okay, so some of them will go like this. Some of them will go into the left ventricle. So there are bundle of fibers which are present. That is why it is called bundle of His. Now, the branch which goes to the left ventricle, the branch of the bundle of His which goes to the left ventricle, that branch is called as the left bundle branch. So ये जो पूरा bundle है, which is going on the left ventricle or in the left ventricle, This entire branch is called as left bundle branch. Alright, so this branch is the left bundle branch. Similarly, this branch will be called as what? It will be called as the right bundle branch. Don't confuse left and right, because your left and right are not the heart's left and right. Again, I am saying don't write this as left, this as right. Clear hai? So देखो, this will generate impulse. That impulse will pass from SA to AV, from AV to bundle of his, from bundle of his through these bundles, and finally these bundle branches are again further divided into branches. Okay, so this is like that primary bronchi, secondary bronchi. Similar way में ये और भी branches develop कर रहा है, and these branches are called as Purkinje fibers. Similarly, these are also the Purkinje fibers. Is this clear? So what is the route? Transport कैसा है? SA node, AV node, bundle of his, left right bundle branches, left right Purkinje fibers. Done. Now how is this entire internodal tissue? So this entire red pathway is called as internodal tissue. Clear hai? Done. Now you will ask me ki how will the atria and ventricles contract? Very simple. Wherever the impulse is present, that part will start contracting. For example, the impulse begins over here, SA node. So what happens is the SA node sends this impulse downwards. So when the impulse is over here, all the parts surrounding this SA node, they will contract. So the atria will begin to contract. As the impulse goes towards the AV node, this remaining part which is already contracted, that will relax. Then when the impulse goes from AV node to the bundle to the Purkinje fibers, the impulse is going here. So after the atria contract, now the ventricles will contract. And then the impulse, when it is gone, both of them are relaxed. I hope you are getting my point. So wherever the impulse is present, that part of the nodal tissue is helping in contraction of the heart. Clear? So you just need to remember this pathway. I will write it down again. SA node, which is called sinoatrial node, sends the impulse to AV node. Atrioventricular node sends the impulse to bundle of his or bundle of Tawara, sends the impulse to left and right bundle branches, which further send the message to the other branches which are formed. These are Purkinje fiber. So actually the contraction of the ventricles is fully occurring when the Purkinje fibers get the impulse. So here I will write down left and right Purkinje fibers. Is this clear? This table or this flowchart you should know, and this diagram, so you know, it's simple. Location below the superior vena cava opening, near the atrioventricular septum and also the interatrial septum, in the interventricular septum. Then the bundle branches are entering the ventricle respective side. Purkinje fibers are, so that is the location of all the parts. Okay, all these parts are together called as the nodal tissue. Okay, and these are also called as autorhythmic fibers. Autorhythmic means खुद से control कर रहे हैं, auto. Okay, they are themselves controlling the heartbeat. Is this clear? Okay, so in your book they have given first a part related to conducting tissue of the heart, and then they have given conducting system of the heart. Both of them, it's the same thing. You just need to study this, and if the question is asked, you should know this and you should know the diagram. Is this clear? Okay, now one question. These atria and these ventricles both are contracting. So how does the contraction take place? And first of all, why is the heart not getting any rest? See, we have studied about all the muscles, striated muscles, smooth muscle, cardiac muscles. All the muscles, they get rest, correct? But these muscles are not getting any rest. So what happens is, the contraction doesn't occur in the entire chamber. For example, अगर ये atria contract हो रहा है तो पूरा atrium contract नहीं होगा. ऐसे नहीं है कि ये पूरा एक साथ contract होगा. as the impulse goes downwards, the area where the impulse is there, that area will start contracting. So सबसे पहले इतना एरिया ऊपर का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा, फिर इंपल्स नीचे जाएगा, फिर ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होने लगेगा. ये जब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा, दिस विल बिकम रिलैक्स्ड अगेन. देन इंपल्स गोज डाउन, दिस विल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, दिस विल रिलैक्स. सो जब तक ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है, इनको उतना रिलैक्सेशन टाइम मिल जाता है. आर यू गेटिंग दिस पॉइंट? एंड दैट इज व्हाई द हार्ट कैन कीप ऑन वर्किंग फॉर सो मेनी इयर्स विदाउट गेटिंग एडिक्वेट रेस्ट, बिकॉज उसको कॉन्ट्रैक्शन का मैकेनिज्म वैसे है. Is this clear? ठीक है. So this is one part of our lecture, which is the conducting system of the heart. We have to complete one more part, which is related to the cardiac cycle. Okay. So आपको चाहिए तो 1-2 मिनट ले लो. You can draw this in your book if you want, and we will resume with cardiac cycle. Alright guys, so now coming to the second part of today's lecture, it is going to be cardiac cycle. Okay, so we are going to complete the cardiac cycle today. Okay, now what exactly is the cardiac cycle? इनके अंदर जो जो चीजें हो रही है, they are together called as the cardiac cycle. For example, there is contraction of the atrium, there is contraction of the ventricle, and there is relaxation of both of them. Correct? Now, as I told you, we are going to use the word systole for contraction, okay, and diastole for relaxation. So now, first thing that occurs in the cardiac cycle, okay, one heartbeat is one cardiac cycle. Please remember this. And how many heartbeats are present in 1 minute? So approximately, let us say 72 heartbeats are present in 1 minute, correct? And this is called as the heart rate. So in one heartbeat, all the events that are taking place, that we are going to study. So if 72 heartbeats are taking place in 60 minutes, in 1 minute, then one heartbeat will take how much time? One heartbeat takes approximately 0.8 seconds. Okay, so in short, I can say that cardiac cycle takes 0.8 seconds. Okay, so please get this firmly ingrained in your brain that cardiac cycle is the same as one heartbeat and the time taken is 0.8 seconds. So 0.8 seconds के अंदर there are 3 things that are going to happen, and we are going to see them now. So the first thing that happens in the cardiac cycle is called as the atrial systole, or it is also called as the atrial contraction. Okay, now the atrial systole, so we have to describe this atrial systole. So we have to describe the contraction of both the atria. So first, what is going to happen? The vena cava and the coronary sinus will bring the deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. I hope you are able to imagine this. Similarly, at the same time, in the left atrium, the pulmonary veins are bringing the oxygenated blood, correct? Then what will happen? Both the atria will get filled with blood. As soon as both the atria are filled with blood, then what is going to happen is this right side of the heart, okay, so this right atrium which is there, this right atrium will contract. Similarly, at the same time, the left atrium will contract, because now both the atria are completely filled. But when the atria contract, in the right atrium especially, both the valves will close. Which valves will close? First is going to be the eustachian valve. Do you remember this? The valve present over here is the eustachian valve. Why this will close? Because when this contracts, this is the opening of the inferior one vena cava, this is of the superior vena cava. So if this is open, then when this contracts, what will happen is blood will again go back. So to prevent that, this inferior vena cava valve which is present, okay, so that valve is actually present at this opening only, this closes. There is no valve over here, so this will not close. And also the valve of the coronary sinus will close, which is called as the Thebesian valve. So eustachian valve, Thebesian valves both will close when this contracts. At the same time, what is going to happen? This aperture will be formed, the tricuspid valve will open so that the blood can flow. Is this clear? Similarly, when this is contracting, even the left atrium will contract. There are no valves for the pulmonary veins. So the only thing that you have to write is the bicuspid valve will open. This is the atrioventricular aperture, and the atrium will contract and blood will be sent to the left ventricle. Is this clear? This is called as your atrial systole. So you have to explain how the atria are getting filled. You have to explain which valves close when the atria contract, and you have to also explain which valves are opening. Clear? The total time for both these atria to contract is just 0.1 second. Just imagine how fast this is happening. So both the atria are contracting in 0.1 seconds. After 0.1 seconds, they will be done contracting. So 0.1 seconds mein the blood will go from here to here, and now these are both relaxed. Now these are both relaxed because the contraction time is just 0.1 second. Okay, and that relaxation time, so after that 0.1 seconds, now just imagine cardiac cycle takes total 0.8 seconds time, and out of that atria are taking just 0.1 seconds for contracting. So obviously how much time is there for diastole, how much time is there for relaxation? 0.7 seconds. Are you getting this? Now we have to explain the second thing that happens, which is called as the ventricular diastole. Now your ventricle systole, I am extremely sorry, ventricular contraction. So now your ventricles are filled with blood, both the right and the left. Now again what will happen, so I am just drawing the ventricles now. This is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle, this is your pulmonary trunk, alright, and this is your aorta, correct? So now you have to explain the contraction of the ventricle. So right ventricle, when it contracts, first of all, what will close? The tricuspid valve which is present over here, it will close, because if this valve remains open, then the blood will flow back into the atrium. So when this contracts, this will close, tricuspid valve will close, and when the tricuspid valve closes, there is a sound, okay, there is a sound which is formed. Okay, and that sound is called as lub, L-U-B. I will explain this. Then this will contract, so the blood will flow through the pulmonary trunk. Now if you remember, the pulmonary trunk also has a valve, it is called semilunar valve, but obviously if you want the blood to go through, then this valve has to open. So during right ventricular contraction, the tricuspid valve closes, the semilunar valve opens, and blood goes into the pulmonary trunk and into the pulmonary arteries. Similarly, when this is happening exactly at the same time, the left ventricle will contract. Now, what will close? The bicuspid valve will close, and what will open? The semilunar valve of the aorta will open. Same mechanism. See, you don't have to by heart anything. Just imagine if this is contracting, then blood will be pushed on all the sides. But if it goes over here, then it will go back into the atrium. So, ये बंद करना है. You want to send it here, ये दरवाजा खोल देना. Simple. So both of them, when they contract, both the tri and the bicuspid valve close, and both the semilunar valves open. So when both these valves close, there is a sound which is generated. Okay, so you must have heard the heartbeat. Okay, that kind of a sound. So that first sound which comes, okay, it is called as lub. Okay, it's like lub dub, lub dub. So that first sound is the sound of both the cuspid valves which are closing. Is this clear? So your ventricles have contracted, they have undergone systole, the blood is now into aorta, blood is now into pulmonary trunk, both the semilunar valves are open, both the cuspid valves are closed. Closing of the cuspid valves produces that first sound. Where is that second sound coming from? So once the contraction of ventricles is done, all the blood has been pumped. So now what will you do? You don't want the blood to come back, because of gravitational force it can come. So now once the blood has gone here, now I will close this semilunar valve. Simple. Now I will close this semilunar valve. So now blood cannot flow back. The blood has already gone into aorta, already gone into pulmonary trunk. So that it doesn't flow back, I close this valve, and when the semilunar valves close, there is that second sound. So that second sound which is generated, that is because of the closing of the semilunar valve, and that is called as the dub sound. So that is why they say that heart is like that. So when you use a stethoscope, or when you measure your pulse or your heartbeat, that sound, the two sounds that you can hear, those are, the first sound is the closing of the cuspid valves, the second sound is the closing of the semilunar valves. Is this clear? Now, this contraction time takes slightly more compared to the atrial systole. Ventricular contraction or systole takes 0.3 seconds. So, out of the total time of cardiac cycle, how much time is the ventricle relaxing? 0.5 seconds. Simple. Now, you have finished both the systoles, atrial systole, ventricular systole. Now what? Now, for some period, there is no blood in the heart. Because blood from the atria was into the ventricles, and from the ventricles it has gone into the respective vessels. So now for some short duration your entire heart is empty, so it is relaxing. So now after the relaxation of after the contraction of the ventricles, this is relaxing and even these are relaxing, because the relaxation time of atria is more. So for that time being, both these chambers, all the four chambers are relaxing, and that phenomena is called as joint diastole. Joint means both the chambers or all the four chambers, both the atria, both the ventricles, all are relaxing. Now what will be the time for that? Obviously, out of 0.8 seconds, this is taking 0.1, this is taking 0.3, so 0.4 seconds. Joint diastole has to be 0.4 seconds. So now, this entire cycle is called as a cardiac cycle. This entire part is called as one heartbeat. And how many times does this cycle take place in 1 minute? It occurs 72 times. That is for a normal heart rate. If I say that the heart rate of a person while exercising is 110, so that means this is happening 110 times per minute. एक heartbeat में ये सब कुछ हो रहा है. So again, first thing that will happen is both the atria will get filled. Okay, when the atria are filling at that time, the eustachian and Sebastian valve will be open because blood is flowing. Once atria are filled, eustachian Sebastian valve closed. From the superior inferior vena cava coronary venous, the coronary sinus, the right atrium will be filled with deoxygenated blood. At the same time, left atrium with oxygenated blood. No valves in pulmonary veins. This is called atrial systole, 0.1 second. So relaxation time, diastole time 0.7. Then ventricular contraction. What will happen? One more thing. When the atria contract, the cuspid valves open because the blood goes into the ventricles. Clear? Ventricular contraction, both the cuspid valves will close. First sound love. Both the semilunar valves open, blood will flow into the pulmonary trunk aorta. Once the contraction is done, takes time 0.3 seconds. Once the contraction of the ventricles is done, what will happen? Semilunar valves will be closed because you don't want the blood to go back into the ventricles. Is this clear? That produces the second sound. So पहला sound है cuspid valves का closing का. Second sound है semilunar valves का closing का. Done. So once the ventricles have contracted, now the heart doesn't have blood for a very short time, and that is 0.4 seconds. Both the chambers or both the types of chambers are relaxing, so it is called as joint diastole. Systole is contraction, diastole is relaxation. That is it. That is your cardiac cycle. Simple. So cardiac cycle is important. Questions are asked on this part. Okay. I hope you have understood. Remember this time. Okay. So a normal heart rate for an adult is approximately 72 beats per minute. Okay, you can say 74, 75. Okay, that is the thing. Normally, if the heart rate is above 100 beats per minute, that is called excessive heart rate tachycardia. And if it is below 60 beats per minute, then it is called as bradycardia. Okay, we will be seeing that later on. So I hope this is clear. So we have finished with the conducting system in today's lecture, and we have also finished with the cardiac cycle. Okay, don't get confused. This is the same as one heartbeat. Okay, so all these things occur in one heartbeat. Done. Now in your book again they have given what is stroke volume, what is cardiac output. You already know. Stroke volume is the volume of blood pumped by either the left or the right ventricle, and that is approximately 70 ml. Cardiac output is the total amount of volume of blood pumped by the heart in 1 minute. So अगर एक heartbeat में 70 ml है, तो 1 मिनट में कितने हार्ट बीट्स है 72, so multiply 70 by 72, you will get 5040 ml, which is approximately 5 liters. That amount of blood pumped by the heart in 1 minute is called as cardiac output. Again they have repeated it. So guys, that ends our lecture for today. Okay, if you have any questions please let me know, and that's it. Thank you.